Warning, if you're faint of heart or easily offended, this show is not for you.
Here's the part that is the big misunderstanding is that, like, I was upset, at myself at the same time, like I was really upset at myself, but I was upset at what happened, obviously, but I wasn't really blaming the hustler for what happened, like I think, like, because I put out a tweet like the next day, and like I was kind of saying like, a lot of people misunderstood that as an apology. Like I was forced into an apology.
Well, Berkey thought that was an apology.
Yeah. Let's wait on that. All right, this is the Nick Vertucci Show. I am Nick Vertucci, and of course with my co-host here, Valerie Veronica Brill, and Andy Stacks is with us in the house today, which is always nice. It's good to have you back.
Very good, very nice to be back.
Yeah.
Very nice to be back.
What's been, well, a lot's been up.
A lot has been
Where
up.
the hell do we even start? We
need 6 hours also.
Yeah, let's see. Well, first of all, just update us on what you've been doing. I mean, we know you've been playing on the show, but like what's been going on? We got to talk about the Game of Gold, how you got into the show and some things about it. But just give us some cursory stuff and we'll just start banging some of these topics out.
For sure. Yeah. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Veronica. It's great to be back here. Like, man, I think the last time we filmed was that what?
It was like a year ago.
Oh, at least.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Time definitely flies. I've been back in the U.S. since, and haven't been back to Asia. I've been playing a lot more poker on the stream, and I've been working on the business that I'm doing in Asia mostly, and just kind of just like settling back into where I left off before I went to Asia last time we spoke.
Yeah,
and it's been great coming back, but definitely a lot has happened.
Yeah,
and we're gonna get into all that.
Are you back, or is it possible? I know with poker players, and especially someone like you loved being over there.
Yeah.
You just like it was a great transition for you. You were doing things you haven't done in years. You were hiking. I saw so much stuff, right?
Yeah.
Friends. Are you here for now? Are you here until you feel that the desire to go back? Like what's going on?
It's a good question. It's a question that I've been asking myself a lot, especially recently. I can see why she grew on you.
Yeah, that's
very cute.
Yeah.
It's a good question because honestly, like it's one that I've been asking myself a lot. I didn't expect to come back to the US and be fully immersed in poker again, like I have been. And because of all the recent drama and just all the politics and things like that, and obviously the swings, and I've been considering again to take time off and reevaluate what I want to do and focus more time on the businesses that I'm doing. But it's still up in the air. I haven't decided yet, but I think it's going to be interesting today to talk about a lot of these topics.
Yeah. Is it because this is just what we do here? Sure. Is it because just poker, when you play as a lot, when you play with big variance, you're playing with big numbers now, bigger than you've ever played. I mean, you're playing in the biggest games. You're pushing to play bigger. Does it sometimes just has an effect on you if you just stay in it too long, right?
Yeah. It has. It's been having an effect on my mental peace, for the most part, and it's really got me evaluating again, like how much time do I want to spend doing all this, and whether it's worth it for me, because I think there's a misconception that like I need to be doing this, that like I'm a grinder, and like that's like so far from the truth right now. Like I only play on streams now, and I only do it for the exposure and for the brand and for the business that I'm doing, and I don't need to play. Like I never play in the casinos anymore. I don't really grind, like and even when I play on the show, like it's obvious to me, it's obvious to the players that are watching that like I'm giving up expectation. Like I'm not there to like,
of course you are.
You know what I mean? Like I get criticized a lot in the Chinese community, actually, like when they watch it, they're like, oh, like Andy's like super swingy, like he makes a lot of like, he's just like giving chips away. Like, yeah, because like I'm playing on a show. Like I'm no longer like sitting there and just like picking the spots and just, you know what I mean? And so, but at the same time, at the cost of all this, like it costing me money, and it's costing me a lot of like my mental peace.
Yeah. Well, there has to be a balance of that. There's only so much you can put into splashing and create and helping your brand. Yeah, because you played in a game recently which we're going to talk about, that you were stuck about $600,000. I mean, listen, I don't care how much money someone has. That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, man.
Yeah.
And if you run bad for a while, and though you 600, 200, 300, 150, like, you know, it's tough emotionally. Of course, it's tough financially. Don't you think you could find a balance between running your business, still playing on stream, maybe playing not as deep, as wild as could there be a balance? Because do you love poker?
I love it. I love the game.
I think you should find, again, not my business, but a balance where like you're not in a groove where you're risking everything. And again, I don't know what you have, but I don't mean 600 is everything, but you're risking so much.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you're missing out on some of this other stuff that you love doing. So I was just wondering, maybe there's like a 50-50 bar in there somewhere.
Yeah, I think there is. I think that's ultimately like kind of the dream, the goal, you know, for most players that started off playing for a living and have built, you know, some financial wealth from themselves, some success, you know, is to eventually become, you know, the VIP, right? Is the guy that's just coming in and can just afford to lose, and then, you know, they have income coming in and they're playing recreationally, you know. And I think obviously for me too, that holds true. You know, there's a point where I think in the future where I'd like to just play when I feel like and travel and just enjoy, and, you know, the losses are not going to matter. And I think that's kind of the direction that I do want to go. Yeah. And that's kind of why I'm reevaluating, like, you know, how much time I should be doing, spending the time, you know, building the groundwork of the stuff that I'm doing, and then playing less poker, taking less variance and things like that, you know? Yeah. But the, sorry, Valerie. Why am I calling you Valerie? See,
because I've called her Valerie for 30 minutes while you were here. This is what my plan was from the beginning, is that nobody remembers her name.
Yeah. That's perfect. No. I'm just curious because it feels like it's rolling into my question, which is like you just finished this season of Game of Gold. Yeah. And I kind of binge watched most of it this morning because I was like it was a little bit bittersweet because I was hosting Poker After Dark until it became Game of Gold. I see. And, you know, they decided to not use me and they didn't need a host. So it was like, oh man, you took this like amazing show that I used to watch even before I was hosting it, and you've GG stole it, and now it's something new. And I was like, oh, a little bit angry. And then I watched it. I'm like, this show is freaking amazing. This show's great. And it looked like a lot of fun. So it seems like you kind of merged poker and having a good time together. What did you think about that show?
That was one of the best experiences I've had. And just I'm so happy with the reception of it. You know, I think most of us going in didn't know how good it was going to turn out. You know, I've talked to most of the players on the show, and we're like when we filmed it, it was because, you know, it was filmed over a couple weeks, and, you know, like. And
it was filmed in Korea, right?
It was filmed in Korea. They flew all of us out there, you know,
in Seoul?
They had their team there in Seoul.
North Korea?
Yeah, right in North Korea, yeah.
I knew that was coming.
A good one. No one would have thought of that.
Yeah. So predictable.
Yeah, the production of it, everything of it was done perfectly, and I think it came at a timing. The show released at it was filmed a year ago, so, you know, the amount of work that was put into this for the editing and
the editing production,
you know, was done so well, and you can see why it took so long because it came out perfectly. And I think the timing of the release of the show is perfect because right now, like, poker streams, like, you know, all the streams, all the shows, like, it's kind of like people are a little bit numb from it, right? Like, all the big pots, like, we can play gigantic pots on Hustler, like, people don't even bat an eye. It's like, you know, it's just people are so spoiled and used to this. Like, it started from the $1 million cash game, right? Like, you know, like, those games are epic, but they kind of like set a new bar for what
we just talked about that recently. Yes.
Yeah. And so like, you know, Game of Gold, when they dropped it, like, it was something new, and I think everybody appreciated it because it was so fresh. It was like, oh, like, this is something new finally, you know? And I think also it worked really well because it helps a lot of players that, like, love poker, but, like, maybe they have a significant other, or, like, you know, they have friends that don't really know poker in the sense of, like, if they watch a stream, like, they don't know what's going on, right? But, like, if they watch Game of Gold, it's a good introduction to the game, right? Because
it's like a reality show mixed with poker. It was fun. Yeah,
they add enough elements to it where it's easy enough for, like, someone that doesn't understand, like, the complexity of the strategy part can understand it. It simplifies the game, right? And it makes the hands dramatic enough to capture and your attention. And so I just think with the music, the angles, like, I heard they had 100 cameras like in the set, like literally like everywhere. You know, like 100 different cameras, 100 different angles, right? They could use, and I just think they did a really good job with it, and I'm really excited to see where they're gonna go from here, because I think it's only gonna get better, and like they're gonna add more twists and just new cast and everything.
The twists were so good, and the fact that they paired you guys in teams, and then the second set of teams were like, okay, the winning group gets to be the captains of the next team. I was like, yes, this is awesome. And it was ironic that like Daniel Negreanu's team, the like strongest, got knocked out first. I was like, yes, this is a really good game, because it's basically anybody's game at that point. It's so fun to watch.
Who won?
I'm telling you, Maria.
Oh, okay.
Of course, she's the best. Yeah. And she was the best heads up. She was like she was talking to Jungle Man, like she knows how to work the room. She was
definitely a favorite in my head after D-Neg's group went out first with Jason Kuhn and those guys. Like I think she has a ton of experience playing in these formats, and she's extremely calculative, and she's constantly planning ahead. Even with the idea of like a lot of us were criticizing her or of her using her gold coins to buy time banks in a lot of the matches, and she ended up winning the entire thing. Not only the matches that she played where she used her time chips, but she ended up winning. And I just think like with her experience being on game shows before, and the unpredictability of these things, and I just think she was definitely a favorite to win. So I wasn't surprised when she took it down.
Yeah, very interesting. Val and I were talking today, and she was like, she sent me a trailer like an hour before I was supposed to be here, and it was an hour. And I couldn't watch it. And then I got the speech at lunch about the reason I didn't watch it is because it wasn't about me. And I said, no, it's because I'm busy, but I do want to watch it, and I will. Yeah. So
if you were on that show, you'd be one of the first ones out, Nick. You'd be yeah.
Tell me why, because I don't know what happens there.
There's just so much. I just think like. I think you have
spoon
strengths.
feed him, please.
No, go ahead. I love it.
There's team dynamics that, like in the beginning, especially with season 1, where like you have to work in teams, and I actually think that you have a lot of strengths that work for you. Like I was paired with David Williams, who is also another player that has been on game shows and things like that. He knew right from the start, like okay, like this is a one-man team. Like even though we're grouped together, like. There's only going to be one winner. Like there's going to be 15 players that are going to walk away with 0. Right. We took a 15-hour flight to Korea, and we're going to go home empty-handed. Did
they even pay you for your time though? Did they give you a daily rate?
Everything. Yeah. They were great to us. They paid for everything. Our stay, our travel. They had vans, like just VIP service. It was amazing. But what I'm trying to say is that like it was interesting because like most of us. Were aside from those players that had been on these shows like that, and I think Kevin Martin was another one that has that
Kmart, yeah.
But many of us didn't really know what to expect, and like we were kind of a little bit too nice in the beginning to each other, And I think Nick, that would be kind of where like you would have some advantage. I think is like you
some a dick.
Yeah, I just think that's kind of required, and that's something that I feel if I was brought back to season 2, like
you would change your approach
perspective. After all this, because I just think that it's that's required for these type of shows, to win is selfish attitude and just.
What do you think? What do you think about season 2? Like, did they say they were going to bring anyone back, or did they give you guys a hint as to what they're going to do for season 2?
No, they're keeping it all in the dark. That's kind of how they operate. Is all mysterious, and it's going to be a big surprise to everybody. And I would love to come back to season 2. I don't know if I think it's a good chance they're just going to bring a whole new cast. If they did bring back certain people, maybe they would bring back like Daniel. I think would be a big one. They would bring back, and it's really hard to say. It's really hard to say.
Yeah. What was the part about why I'd be out if I'd be such a good dick about it?
I just think.
We got to make it about him. I
want to know.
Sorry, we got to make everything about him.
Can't
at
bring
least
something up and not finish.
I think
my poker acumen.
Well, let's put it this way. You and I have a very big disadvantage of like, we don't play like 20 big blind poker, you know what I mean? Like we don't have patience for that, that was my biggest weakness, was going there and like trying to figure out like what I'm supposed to do with like, like king 8 offsuit and I have like 20 big blinds. I don't know. Like I'm not in these spots and like
in real life.
Reload? You just bring more money?
It was so painful to sit there and I just I honestly was lost. I was lost.
You were lost, yeah.
Yeah. And I also think like another disadvantage that we would have like you would have too is like, we don't play these formats with these players either. Like they have more experience with each other. Like I played a match against Josh Arya. Like I know he plays, all these different type of games, different formats, and he's very well known. He's been around forever.
Yeah, I mean, we have one
gear. I
gear.
never played a single hand with him.
Yeah,
I had no idea what to expect. I thought he was the biggest nit ever, and he bluffed me off top pair twice. You know, and it was just like, it was just a function of like just not knowing any of these players.
Right, being out of your element. Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense.
But did you learn a lot about yourself and about your game from being out of your element so much?
I did. I think overall it was just a really good experience. Just being put in these different formats, and I really enjoyed it. And I think they really need to do more shows like this. I think there will be. And I think it's so good for poker, and it's got everybody's attention, and just really happy the way it turned out. I'm really happy to be a part of this, especially with season 1.
Did you learn about yourself right now in this question? Because we need to make it about you a little bit more too.
I'm ready to break up for the 4th time. I'm just letting you know whenever you want to call it.
So Game of Gold. Any more Game of Gold questions out of you? I want you to watch it. I think you would love it. It's so fun.
I want to.
I was so stupid for even like thinking that maybe it was a negative thing. It was such a good show.
Such a good show.
It really was. That's cool.
So let's talk about the Hustler freak out. Well, freak out, is that the right word? Would you describe it as a freak out?
It was a rant. It was
you were pissed.
I was pissed.
Yeah.
I was pissed,
so for the audience at home, for the people who don't really know the reference, who could potentially go back and watch it on Hustler, what happened?
So like midway through the stream, like I was lighting money on fire. I was, playing a lot of pots. I was losing, and I lost a big flip early on with like ace king, and another player had ace king, and then the third player had tens. It was a 3-way all in. I lost that one. And then it kind of went downhill from there. I was down a bunch already, a few $100K.
Were you tilting totally at 200K? Because here's what I didn't understand. Okay. I had never. I understand splashing. I understand building your brand. I understand playing differently than you would if you're grinding. But you were in a different mode that I just thought you were just like lighting it on fire.
I think I was happy to be there. I was happy to be a part of this the high stakes week, and I was generally like fine, until what happened, which was basically Nick Airball and Santhosh got up suddenly, and
you didn't hear anything from them. No, they just got up.
No, I didn't know anything at all. I was under the assumption that we were going to keep playing, and and I just like, here's the part that is the big misunderstanding, is that like I was upset at myself at the same time, like I was really upset at myself, but I was upset at what happened, obviously, but I wasn't really blaming the Hustler for what happened, like I think, like, because I put out a tweet like the next day, and like I was kind of saying like, a lot of people misunderstood that as an apology. Like I was forced into an apology.
Berkey thought that was an apology.
No. Let's wait on that. Because that's the reason I say it is because the reason I say it is because there's a piece to it that.
Well, he went into the chat. Is that the piece?
No. The piece to it is we want to get to how that misunderstanding happened, because Ryan had made a group text and he forgot to put you in it because he has so many right.
Yeah,
that's what he told me. And so you can confirm. So at the time,
what was the group text about?
That Santhosh wasn't going to play, but he did us a favor and played because he was going to play in that home game, and that he was going to leave like 2 or 3 hours earlier than he did, but he stayed. And then Nick was also going to play in the game, but he was going to stay to the very end, but Santhosh didn't have a ride. And, Nick and Hustler, we want to cater to Santhosh too, because we want him to come back on our show, and he's good for our show. And so Nick Airball went to Ryan, and that's why I want to get this out first, so when we get to the other part, went to Ryan and said, I'll stay if you want me to stay. I would never leave a stream early, but he's asking me to, what should I do? Do you care if I do? And Ryan just said, fuck, fine. Go ahead. He already played when we were.
He couldn't take an Uber? Is he that much of a VIP that Nick wants to drive him?
That part I don't know. And so then those two just started racking. And then I think after that, not too long after, maybe the professor.
Oh, the game just snap broke.
It just snap broke. And it was funny too, because, people think that you and I got into a thing, which we did. But when you were at the table and you were starting to rant, they turned off your mic.
Yeah.
I thought that was bullshit. I was texting in the thread because I was home. Turn his mic back on. Let him cook. Because that stuff's good, It's okay. I understand. just so you know, like people don't understand, I would fucking be on monkey tilt. You had every right to feel emotions like that.
For sure. I think most players would probably flip the table over at that point. Like, it's not normal to be down $600,000 in this game and like the game just snap breaks. You know, like if I'm at the pits, like back in the days when I was the fire, like they don't tell me when I can stop betting. You know what I mean? Like I'm firing and I'm down a lot of money. Like you're not used to as a DGen for someone to tell you like you're done. You know what I mean? Like
you're gonna keep firing. Except your 600K loss.
Yeah, and so if there's an opportunity to keep playing, like and keep firing and keep like lighting money on fire, like let me do it. Like and then when the game just broke and I was promised like this game is gonna go for 5-6 hours, like I want my 5 to 6 hours.
It had an hour and a half left, right?
If I hit $1 million and I lose, like that's on me. But I want the game to keep going. You know?
It had an hour and a half left.
So you went into the Hustler chat when the game broke? I
went into the chat when the game broke, which I never do. I never go in the chat, But I was so mad.
He needed an outlet.
I needed to. Yeah, it wasn't enough for me to rant to Rampage and Jungle, who were also down, but not as much as me. And they understood my pain, but I need to.
They played heads up.
Yeah.
After
While
the game broke.
Andy's ranting.
No, yeah. Andy's left the game. They're playing heads up, and then after Andy rants, he comes back and plays three-handed.
I went to scream at Ryan. I came back.
So what were you ranting about in the chat?
I just basically said like, look, like if a player takes another player to a private game midstream again and breaks the game like this, like I'm just never playing again, Like,
you said I'm done with Hcl.
I'm done. Yeah, I'm just done, And
did
honestly,
you see my response in the chat?
Yeah. You were basically saying like, we should talk about this. Don't do this on air. And
stop.
Yeah, and this is where the tweet that I addressed was, I felt a need on my part to put that out there that there was misinterpreted by everybody. Was that
sure?
I thought that it was pretty unnecessary for me to do that in the chat, and I don't think that it was handled the best on my part to like do it on the air with like that many people watching. Like I didn't want to affect Hustler's brand, and I didn't want to affect public perception of me as well. I think there wasn't that many positives by me doing that, and so I just wish that I waited till the game ended and we figured out.
But
so did Nick force you to apologize?
Absolutely not.
Let's get to that.
I just needed to know. Okay, I needed to know.
Right, no, but I'm like OCD, so I want to go in order. Yeah. So and then when
I'll just leave the room. Let me know when you're done.
You shut up. When I get to the point to where like we're there, then you could just cook and go dig into everything. But I just want the people to know in an order it happened because you don't know. So which everything, but this one you just got by you. All right, so. We're going to break up for sure again, okay?
Thanks, Andy. You were the person. You were the last wedge.
So the next day or 2 days, you didn't tweet the apology yet or whatever that was. Yeah. You tweeted something else and said this is like bullshit. And when I just made one little comment, what's bullshit is airing your shit out publicly because I was mad too, right? Like whatever.
Yeah.
And they don't know. You and I go back forever. I consider you a friend. Like we've been through a lot of stuff. No one knows that we've helped each other. Okay, so. To your credit, you didn't respond.
Yeah.
You just went quiet. You just said, you know what, whatever. And then, I don't know how many days later, you put out that tweet that they called an apology. You called it just taking accountability.
Yeah.
And then that's when Berkey texts something paraphrasing, like, come on, like this wasn't forced, like at gunpoint by Vertucci to write the apology. Sure. And then him and I started going at it and said, I said, again, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Number one, Nick Airball, he was saying on his podcast, he's not loyal to the show anymore. He's poaching people. Like Nick Airball fucking asked permission to leave, and there's no one actually more loyal still to this day. And so that's wrong. And then, me forcing you at gunpoint to an apology, which is just not the truth, is wrong. And that's always been my point. He's fucking never right, and he never researches anything before he fucking opens his big fucking mouth. So that's me. That's not you saying it. You're good with him. I'm good. Yeah. But so now, Cook.
I just want to know what you think about that tweet from Berkey.
About Berkey, like I know you guys, had.
I don't have a problem. It's him.
Me.
Okay,
I have a problem.
I just want to put this out here before, if Berkey's watching, I have nothing but love for Berkey. Only
I know
because,
you do.
I go back way back with Berkey as well. Way before the stream streets, and we battled, and he's one of the guys where I respect because he's been in this industry, just
20 years. He'll tell you.
Yeah, and so when he opens his mouth and he speaks, he's gonna ruffle a lot of feathers there, and a lot of people are gonna disagree with him, just with you guys, and that's fair game, right? Because we all have our opinions.
Yeah, it's me.
I think
not her.
I think Berkey makes a lot of valid points that I agree with. I enjoy watching his show as well. However, with that said, I think with this situation, there was a little bit of miscommunication, and he was only given what he saw, right? And so I can see why it was misinterpreted because most of the public thought that's what it looked like, right? And I think my tweet was misinterpreted because of the way it sounded, but like it was really just me taking accountability for like ranting on the air, which I'm not proud of, you know, and then like also just like me just expressing the desire of like, I don't know if like I don't know if like I'm cut out for like all this like this I don't know if I want to like stay with, you know, in this industry if it's like this is it, like this is it for me, like it's just constantly like this political like bullshit and like, you know, games breaking and like I don't need this, you know, like there's so much emotion when that happened, you know. I was pissed at Nick Airball, like I just wanted somebody to blame, and then I kind of stopped and I kind of thought to myself like, why, like this. First of all, like I think all this is normal, you know, as sick as it sounds, like all the bullshit that happened with, you know, Nick leaving, whether or not like there's, you know, it's 100% true, it's how it happened, or whether or not that's not true and he took Santhosh, or Santhosh didn't want to be in that game, or there was a better game. It doesn't matter to me. Like to me, like that's all part of the industry. That's all part of the politics.
That's the pain of poker. It's the pain of poker.
And it comes with, you know, players leaving, players trying to scam you. Anything negative that happens, players trying to never paying you back or trying to cheat. Like to me, like we talk about all these scandals and stuff like that, but to me, like that's part of being part of this industry. Like you kind of have to accept it. And I know what I signed up for when I play these high-stakes games. Like there's no guarantee to win, and nobody forced you know, me to put all that money in the pot. Like, and so maybe I could have been up all that money. You know, what I'm trying to say in that.
And it would have been so different if you were up $600K.
Yeah. I just think like there's some accountability of like taking a seat in a high-stakes game. Like you know, maybe like a guy's gonna take another player to a better game because like they're doing what's best for themselves. There's a better game, and like there's no, you guys aren't paying these players to stay. Like you know, they don't owe it to you guys to like stay the full 6 hours. You would appreciate it. You know, but even if Santhosh was like, hey, like, you know, my friends are playing this other game, like, you know, and the information wasn't conveyed to me. Like I think it's like still like it sucks for me, but there's a part of it that's like, oh well, that's what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah, and you know what? We're human, and for you to feel how you feel in that moment, totally normal. Like I don't think there one bit of that is off color at all. I really don't, not at all. I'd be super monkey tilted. You had every right to be. And one point to make too, and we'll go into that, is, you know, you and I, back to the main point. After all of these tweets, prior to all of these tweets and all this stuff, never had one word or one text. Then after you put out the tweet, and then Berkey responded and said, you know, that was got to be forced by Vertucci or whatever. That's when I text you and I said, we should probably talk now. Just because it needed to run its course. That's why you didn't respond to come to me. You didn't respond. I didn't reach out to you because I knew if I reached out to you prior to all this, that's what it was going to be, right? But I knew you and I would be okay. I knew you and I would, like, because we've had other emotional moments where we've like had a few disagreements and you've been upset about a few things, or you come to me and we work them out, right? Like, you know, so I knew that would happen, but I was smart enough. You were smart enough to say, I'm not going to respond to that because this is really hot right now. And I was smart enough not to reach out to you, so that didn't happen. Right. Okay. So,
And the reason why I responded to Berkey's thing later on was like, we talked about it and we're like, let's let them think what they think. It doesn't matter, you know? But then they just kept coming in. The questions are like, oh, why did you apologize? And like, I'm just going to address this. Like, I didn't apologize. Like, I'm still pissed about them leaving and the game breaking. Like, that didn't change, you know? Of course. You know, but it's just, I want to let everybody know, like, look, man, like, I don't need to like beg to play on the Hustler. Like, that's not, it's, if anything, like, I tried to leave this whole environment 2 years ago, and I wasn't going to come back, and I was kind of sucked back into all this, and the tweet was kind of me questioning like whether or not I want to stay in it. You know what I mean? Like, it's in fact, it's the opposite. It's not like I need to like bend over to like get seats, you know, and like you guys are forcing me to do anything. It's more just like me deciding, do I even want to keep playing, you know, under these conditions?
Totally.
You know, and there was kind of just a reflective tweet, just putting that out there, but at the same time, like taking accountability and being like, look, I could have just waited till after the stream. I didn't have to go in the chat and, you know, put that out there with 7,050. I don't even know how many people were watching, but, you know, that's what that was about.
One thing I want to say is that it's interesting to me why even if you did apologize or feel that was an apology, why that's a bad thing. If you're telling me that you're a professional poker player who only plays on streams, and so streams are your livelihood for both content and money, why would it be a bad thing to try to make amends with the show that's giving you this leverage, like, or try to keep, like, not burn those bridges? That's the thing. Like, if you want to live in this world, it's like, if you're invited to a private cash game that has like the juiciest action, are you going to go in there and like monkey tilt and insult the host and then not apologize? I'm not saying you insulted the host. I'm not saying you did any of that, but I'm saying, like, it's fine to try to live in a world where you're not burning all the bridges that give you opportunities. And I think, like, Berkey's tweet to you, even if it was an apology, was really unfair, just because he wants to burn all of his bridges, which I think kind of he wants to with Nick for sure.
They hate me and ACL.
My point is, apologizing to like make sure that you're okay, that your livelihood is okay, is fine too.
Right.
It's just such a weird, like, it feels like a playground, a schoolboy kind of like conflict at this point to talk about that thing being an apology. It's a weird thing to me.
No, I think you have a really valid point there. I guess I just wanted to express that, like, it wasn't the way that Berkey was trying to make it sound like, which was like, look, like, I'm scared I'm going to lose my seat.
Yeah.
If anything, like I said, like, the tweet was a reflection of, emphasizing, like, I don't even know if I want to play after that.
At this point, to be honest, like, I'm sorry for interrupting you, but at this point, I feel like the rivalry between Berkey and Nick is becoming, like, I'm sorry to say this, kind of like circus-ish. Like, any opportunity Berkey has to say something, he does. Yeah. And it's almost like stepping back, and it's like, okay, kids, like, you're both suspended from school at this point. Like, no one's being like, you're right, you're wrong, you're right. We're all it's just so often that it almost becomes like, oh God, here we go again, between the two of you.
Of course.
Just saying.
Yeah, I'm a counterpuncher. I never start it. That's the truth. I'm talking shit now this week. It's true. No, it's true. I'm talking shit.
So anyway, there's my point.
Fuck that. No. I'm talking shit this week because of that, and because all week with the cheating scandal with the Nick Airball stuff, which we're going to talk about, all that fell back on the Hustler, and all these insinuations were happening over there on that podcast. And like I said in the other podcast, you had Conrad, when he heard, like, the commerce is opening, almost going into a prayer, going, please put them out of business.
Was it a hymn, like a Charlie Carroll hymn, or
I'm a hustler, I'm out of business,
my childhood trauma?
And these clips, I don't watch. These clips are sent to me, and I'm thinking, fuck you, like, stop, like, at least say the truth. So with your thing, it wasn't the truth, and it bothers me.
You're the gasoline that fuels the poker engine.
I know, it's actually
you and Berkey.
It's actually good for his podcast.
No, it's you and Berkey.
And
You're
it's
both
good for
fueling.
Yes, I'm saying it's probably, like, that's probably the only time anyone watches this show.
Okay,
just kidding.
So back to Andy.
I'm just fucking around on that one.
You know what's really funny is that they have a really, really cute cat on their podcast too.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
It's Marley's cat. Yeah.
Is that what it is? Okay, I've seen it a bunch of times. It's
Chansey,
cute.
yeah.
We got to just bring those two together and just let them fight, Duke
it
out.
Yeah. See who's cat.
Yeah, just abuse the animals in the process. Great, guys. Great job.
Yeah.
Now we can see why.
I'll say that one.
Yeah. So I know that, like, talking about private games in LA, or private games in general, is like a sensitive topic because, there's a lot of people whose lives are dependent on these private games. A lot of hosts making a lot of money. So I like, with that being said, whatever you can comfortably talk about, I'd love to hear from you, because Wesley put out a bunch of tweets accusing a lot of people of cheating, and Mars being the big one. Just curious what your thoughts are. Maybe you could talk about LA private poker if you can, if you've been to any games, if you've ever been cheated or anything like that.
How to avoid cheating, some of the things we've talked about.
For sure.
Don't go. That's how you avoid.
Stay home.
Stay home.
Stay home.
I'm really sad with all the recent news of all this, especially because as a Chinese poker player ambassador for Chinese poker players in general, I've in the past tried my best. Like the last time we spoke, I've tried my best, over the years, to try to defend the Chinese players, their behavior, and to explain and try to make a very peaceful playing environment for everybody, so like international players understands like where we're coming from and things like that, because I'm kind of the bridge, right? Like and so, like, I'm really sad seeing all this, and we've lost a bunch of like high stakes players because of all this.
Yeah, it's a shame.
It's like,
it's saddening.
It's really sad. But I will say this, like, I don't want to accuse anybody today, because I don't have all the facts, because I purposely distance myself from that circle. Like, I don't play in those games, and the reason I didn't is because I kind of know what potentially could go wrong in a lot of those spots. And like I said, I don't need to be in that position to put myself in the spots, right? And so I don't have all the facts, so I don't want to start saying like I know for a fact this player did this. All I can say is that like I think this was just a matter of time. Like I think when you see players like dumping bricks of cash, like flaunting it, and showing off and posting pictures of all their sports cars, like I don't think there's anything good that can come out of that. Like I don't understand the need to show that off. Like I don't think it's gonna like what do they think, like they're gonna like impress their friends, or like they're gonna have like there's nothing. You're only gonna attract people that are gonna try to scam you, right? Like when you do something like that, like you're not impressing anybody. Like there's a lot of money we're in Hollywood, you know what I mean? Like, and so I just think by doing stuff like that, you're putting a target on your back.
No matter who you are, not pinning out one person or two people, whoever you are, if you do that, that's an indication of some sort of insecurity or a want to be that. I don't ever see people that are really deep, that really have a lot of cheese or have old money, ever do that. That's a flex that I think is ridiculous.
You're telling me that the people who were flexing were the ones getting cheated?
I think they're not getting the sympathy or they're not getting the support and the sympathy that maybe they hoped for because they did things like that. And it's almost like it comes with the territory of how you're presenting yourself. Like you don't ever see me like do things. I keep a low profile, and that's how I'm able to survive for 20 years in this industry. I've been scammed before, and I've learned from that. And after that, I don't put myself out there. I don't post pictures online of like, like I just don't think it's necessary. I think you're going to attract people that are going to look at that and be like, this is an opportunity for me, and I think, with my age, like, I have that advantage over them because a lot of these guys are like in their 20s. And
well, both Nick and Wesley are new to poker within the last year and a half, right?
Yeah.
And I will tell you this, especially Nick, and he'd know, I'd say to him, I don't think he's missed making one mistake he could possibly make. He's made them all in order, and maybe he's got a few more in him. But that, I think, just comes with being green, and same with Wesley. Like Wesley, to take his word that he came in a year and a half ago or whatever it was, I don't really think understands the landscape like you would or I would, because we've been around.
But I also think that it's a rite of passage as weird as that sounds. Like I think being scammed to some degree is kind of a rite of passage in this industry. Like you almost have to go through it. You have the naive,
you're right.
You're kind of naive. You're innocent, and then like you get taken advantage of.
Life experience.
Yeah. So that's my next question to you. So like you said, you've been scammed before. I don't know if you could talk about that, but also when you were coming up, I'm assuming you've probably played in some private LA games, especially coming up back in the day. Yes. Can you talk to us about a time that you were scammed?
I've been scammed by players that I thought have been my friends, players that have helped financially, and players that I've known for a long time. So you would think that there's trust there and it's a real friendship, and I've been let down and been scammed by loaning money to players and not being repaid, things like that. As far as home games, I haven't, not that I know of, I never caught red-handed that I've been cheated.
You just had a feeling?
But I've been in home games where I felt like I've been cheated and never went back.
Me too, one time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can kind of feel it, and because there's no proof, I just don't, I don't accuse, I just pay, but I'm done with that.
It's so funny that you said that.
Yeah.
Because we talked about it the other day, and I said the same thing as you. I was in a game. It was somebody that I know and like.
Yeah.
But there's other elements to that game of people that were running the game, so it might not just be the person I know.
Yeah.
Okay? And I lost $50,000. If I had to bet, I will tell you I was cheated. The hands, I fucking made no sense. It wasn't just variance. And it dawned on me at about a 50 ball, fuck, I think I'm being cheated.
Yeah.
I got up, I paid, and I left. And I never said one word about anybody because you know why? I didn't have proof.
Yeah.
And I fucking drove there. I put my chips on the table, and I made a decision to do it. So I took accountability for it, and I never would go back to any of that. It was done. That was it for me. And that's how you have to handle it. That's the mature way to handle it, because what if you by chance didn't get cheated?
Yeah.
Or I by chance really didn't get cheated. It was one of those days. I just now fucking implicated who knows how many people, right? And it's just not okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so because of that, like, what you're saying, the possibility of it is very high. It's greater the bigger the stakes get, right, in these games.
That's right.
And so in my experience of home games, I was lucky to not play, the stakes that I play on stream for that amount of money at these games. I just choose not to. The games run, I've been getting invites, but I just stay away from all that. And that's why with this group, specifically the group with these Chinese players, I don't play in those games. Like I'm very happy to just play on stream, you know, for these stakes because I feel safer. You know, I feel way safer, and I just don't, you know, with the stakes when I used to play the home games, it was for smaller stakes, you know. But even then, there's the possibility there was high of getting cheated. Yeah. And I stopped doing that.
What's the main way to avoid it, Nako? How do you protect yourself?
I think it's not one specific thing, but I think it's more of a mentality. I think players need to realize that if someone's being nice to you, like really unusually nice to you, like there's a motive behind that. Like players are not.
That's very sad.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's really sad. Like that's one thing I've noticed.
Predatory,
like, it's funny when players try that on me now. Like I think they think that because I'm like I present myself in a certain way that like, you know, maybe I can be scanned, but like, you know, I'm the last person that I'm the really bad target because like the second someone comes at me, whether it's a DM, whether it's like, you know, whatever it is, like they come approach me, like if they're coming at me and they're like being nice, super nice or extra, like my first thing is like is just, you know, I get alarm bells. I'm like, okay, what does this guy want from me? You know, like I'm very high guarded, you know? And so when I get invites to home games or like, oh, this is a good game, like what's in it for them? Like, why would they invite me? You know, like I'm not, like I've been in this industry for so long that my first instinct is to question why, right? And so I think to answer your question about how do you avoid that is to have your guard up against players that are against people that are approaching you. Yeah. And, you know, it's seemingly a little bit like too good to be true, you know? Like, yeah. I think it you know, something to be said about, for example, like, you know, the private jets, like expensive dinners, like why? Like you think these guys like you for your personality? Like you think these guys are actually inviting you to all these things because they like you as a person?
No,
like,
they want to outrake you. Yeah, and they want to.
They see dollar signs.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It is what it is, and it's really sad because I think, you know, especially when there's two players, right, and you have both these guys thinking that they're hustling each other, like. They don't know that, right? This guy thinks he's working this guy, right? They're like, oh, I got this guy on by the balls. Like this guy has no idea, and the other guy is doing the same thing, and they're both playing each other, right? Yeah, and it's sad. The saddest thing because they're spending all this time together, and like life is so short. Like you're telling me like you're just gonna try to fleece this guy, and like you're going to like all these events and parties together, and like at the end of the day, it means nothing, right? You're just trying to like steal from the guy. And it's just a scam. The whole friendship is a scam.
Yeah,
you know?
It's a shame.
And so it goes back kind of like my tweet is like. Even like, you know, I'm not involved in this, but like, is this the kind of environment that I want to continue with? Like now I just turned 40 this year, like, you know, thinking about the next chapter of my life, like, you know, finding mental peace and like actually like feeling good about what I do every day, you know, like, is this the type of environment, or is this the type of people that I want to be around, you know? Because I still get endless people coming up to me in my DMs, just asking for stuff, just like constantly trying to take, you know, and I'm so sick of it. Like people trying to be nice to me and thinking that like that's gonna do something, like they're gonna like sway me in one way, you know, like even like for example like these games that Hustler recently, right? Like there's very well known like there's two very action players that I've introduced to the Hustler stream. They're from Shanghai, they're friends of mine, and like the second they came off the plane,
everyone wants to recruit
everybody is like either being sucking up to me, or they're like going behind my back trying to
recruit them. Yeah, of
and
course.
It's just endless.
That's just how it is.
It's just like, man, give it a break. Like give it at least like a little bit of time, you know? It's like they just got off the plane, like their friends are bringing them. I see the texts. They show me the texts. Yeah. They're like, this guy's inviting me, and like they don't even, they're just like, aside from just both being Chinese, right? Like there's no connection, but they just see dollar signs, and it's just, it's so gross, man. Like it's just so grimy, and at some point.
How did Saya get their number?
I honestly, I don't want to.
I'm fucking around. You don't have to say.
Yeah, it's. I don't want to name names.
You never told me that. I just assumed that's who it was.
She's not one of them.
Oh, good. I like her.
For the people watching, you know who you are. Like, I'm not gonna throw you on the bus. Like, the players know who they are. Yeah. You know, and there's so many techniques with trying to make it seem like, oh no, it's my friend. That it's very clear to me like what they're trying to do, and it's fine because that's part of the hustle, right? Like, all high stakes poker is. Cash games now is just, it's one giant hustle, and it's the game within the game. And in order to survive as a pro, you know, in 2023 is having these skills now. And it's a sad thing because, you know, one thing I want to go into later is like about tournament players. Like I'm starting to feel so much admiration for tournament players that play high rollers and things like that. They have their own politics, right? But like they have their own issues, but there's something really pure about just showing up, you know, to a tournament. You have the money, you buy in, and you just play. And you just like, you know, even though it's not 500 big blind poker and like the decision making is different, but there's something pure about that has been lost in like the private game scene and these cash games. It's like not.
No one can poach your chips when you're chip leader at the tournament. It's not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's not about poker anymore. It's about so much more now with the politics of these high stakes games, and it sickens me. It's about just insincerity. It's about like trying to say the right things to people and like trying to wine and dine them. And it's like I got in this game because of the love of the game. I missed the strategy part. Like if back to what people called me the silent assassin, it was because I didn't need to talk back then, and I love just like focusing on the game and playing. But now it's turned to this thing where it's like
you have to be
I'm part actor, I'm part politician, I'm part poker player, and it's like I'm none of those things at the end.
I'm actually,
and it's just like I'm just like what is this?
I'm very kind of taken aback by your attitude today, because I felt last time when we interviewed you were a little bit performative, a little bit like rehearsed, and maybe a little buttoned up. And today I'm feeling a lot more passion out of you, but it feels like it's taken a shift a little bit to the negative. And that's unfortunate to see, but I just want to ask you, because you said that you're only playing on streams now. Is it because of this frustration that you're having with poker?
I just don't want to spend time looking for games and going to private games and trying to feel like what games are going to be safe to play in. I don't want to put in the energy. I think the amount that I play on stream is enough, for poker in my life right now. And when you say like negative, it's I'm trying to be real, like I don't want to sugarcoat it for people watching, thinking like it's all like just rainbows and butterflies with these things. And it's like I want to be realistic, but I also want to be like with the politics, right? I don't want to be like they shouldn't do this, I think it's fair game. That's what it comes at. Even like when it goes back to like Nick bringing Santhosh, whatever, like all these things and all these people come up to me and trying to want things or trying to get leverage. Like, I think it's part of the game, but I'm just questioning myself if I want to be a part of it anymore. Like this is the existence that I want. I'm not saying it is negative, right? But at the same time, it's also something that you have to just be realistic about and just accept.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's like this in a lot of different businesses. Like, with Amazon or whatever, the biggest competitors, Facebook, like these guys are not like, they're trying to kill each other, right? They're trying to sink each other's businesses. Yeah. And so whether it's poker and private games and things like that.
It's dog eat dog in most competitive markets.
It is. Yeah. It is. It really is. And it's just how it is.
That's why I said, Andy, maybe, again, you're going to do what you're going to do. Yeah. I know everyone out there, including myself, hopes you never leave poker. You're associated to me with poker. But, the balance. Yeah. I think the balance is everything. Like to be able to just put yourself in the positions where you play when you want to, at the stakes you want to, that you're comfortable with, and understand all the landmines around you and just stay away from them. Yeah. And the cat's
butt in your face.
Cat's giving me some ass. And just find it that way, because I don't think you're ever going to lose the desire to have that competitive edge or how great poker is, because it's so unsolvable. And, like you said, you could just be quiet before and really think that's what you enjoyed the most versus having to put on an act to get a seat, right? Yeah. So I just think you should just be you. And again, this is my opinion, and just find a balance, because you can work a business. You can have a regular life. I just think that's the way to go. Because you'll always be hankering to come back because you love it. In my opinion, that you love it too much, right? And by the way, you said something too, and it's just true. What people don't understand, and the reason that it's so prevalent now, is because we have technology. Yeah. Because we have Because we have technology, I kind of like the bullshit going on with the cats. Because we have the technology, everyone knows about everything. Yeah. Okay, but cheating has been going on in poker since the day poker started.
Yeah, that's true.
Like since the day it started, with friends, with friends, all the old OGs that we admired. Come on, man. Like, if you really dig into the past, like this was going on from even some of the legends. I'm not saying it's right, but now we have all these mics and all the Twitter and everything else. And so it just seems like it's dirtier than ever, but I don't think it's any dirtier than ever. This has been going on forever. And even now, I think online poker is going to be challenged to be as big as it was because of what's happening now with the RTA stuff and all the chip dumping and everything else. And I've talked to a handful of really seasoned online players that have just transferred into cash. They won't play anymore. So there's it's just always going to be, man. Yeah.
So you alluded to tournaments. Yeah. And so are you thinking you're going to shift more into tournaments now? Maybe high rollers?
Probably not that quickly. I think, the dream is, like I mentioned earlier, it's really to play poker completely recreationally and be able to travel for me. I think a lot of that will, it makes more sense with tournaments. I think right now with the business that I'm working on in Asia, it's still very poker related, and it's going to be along that. It's too early for me to talk about, but it's going to be in that lane where it's going to be building a future where I can, be able to do that. And I think that's I'm able to still compete, even though it's not going to be 500,000 big blind poker, but it's going to be, I'm going to be able to travel and still play poker.
I think that's your sweet spot.
His new nickname will be 20 Big Blind Andy.
Yeah.
I gotta find a new nickname.
I gotta tell you, and I'm always so afraid to say something because she's gonna say I'm making it about myself. But like, I'm in poker and I think of shit, so I'm not gonna do it anyways. That's the reason why, you remember, I played with you guys. You guys chopped me up. I played 200, 400, 800, whatever. And, I had the best education of my life. But, like, now I play 2 to 3 times a week. I don't play once a week. I understand variance now. I've been very discouraged by poker, and I've had to take breaks. And so now I'm doing what I'm suggesting for you to do. Yeah. Play where you're comfortable. If you're going to play a little bit, a lot, whatever. So now I play in just the games I'm comfortable. I don't have to, I don't want to go into losing 500, 250, doing that, I like just relax. And I force myself to enjoy poker. I still get tilted. I still hate some people in it, and the whole thing. But you just have to find that balance that you could cruise and not put all that pressure on yourself, you know what I mean, and be involved in things you don't want to be in and all that. Like, sometimes I get trolled for not, I don't know about the home games, I don't know about this, I don't care. I don't want to know. I don't know whose game is what. I don't know who's fucking cheated in a tournament half the time unless I hear it, because I just don't care. Like we were talking about, I don't care at all, and I just think that would be best. You're never gonna leave poker, bro.
No, I think you're right. I think you hit a key point. It's really about finding the balance and trying to figure out what matters to you, how much time you want to spend on it, and really just like divide. Like you said, it's dividing about your priorities and like figuring out what things you should give a fuck about and what things you shouldn't. Yeah. And that's what it really comes down to. And I'm lucky that with the whole cheating thing, like I distance myself, like I said, and like honestly, like to me, like that stuff is like, I don't care about that stuff because I distance myself from it. I'm not going to get involved, and it's sad that happened to them. But it's like, that's just a crew that like I'm just not going to like. With my personal life, it's just separate. And because these are HCL players, the community just thinks, it's attached, right? Yeah. And they don't believe me when I tell them, I don't know there was a game in Yorba Linda. Yeah, I didn't fucking know. I don't know who this name is that you guys are mentioning. I don't know who was playing it. I don't know what game's in LA. I don't know because I don't care and I'll never go. And so it's just the whole thing's a weird dichotomy, but I think it keeps me more healthy mentally. I just have a couple fights, I lean into them, and other than that, I mind my business and whatever else is going on. Yeah, not much else. No, that's it. You told me that today. No. You told me. I don't really think she told me today. I really don't think you're lazy and stupid like some people think you are. I just don't think you care. And I'm like, well, wait, fucking time out. Besides Berkey, who thinks I'm average. Okay?
I knew I couldn't give him constructive feedback because he now for the rest of the day and the rest of his life will just keep like harping on those words, even though I told him you're not dumb and lazy. Oh my God. He's just like, I'm dumb and lazy? What? Did Berkey say that? And I'm like, no. I like just God.
He has said that, but it's just making the first.
And now we're making it all about him.
You fuck.
Go ahead.
So Andy's here.
All right. When are you coming back? November?
Of next year, yeah. Andy, when you're going to be back in November of next year too.
I'll be back when you guys are back together. You guys are going to break up.
You notice Andy strategically waited for me to come back to the show.
I know. I couldn't believe it. You know what he said when I said, well, like, you want to come on? He says, is Veronica in?
Is Veronica in?
And he said, then I'll come.
That's what I said.
He did.
Did you actually?
I have that on the text. He said, then I'll come. And I'll say, well, whatever. If that's how I got to get you here, then fine. Fine. I'll dump her when you leave.
I do have pull.
I'll dump her again when you leave. Okay, well, what the fuck else do you want to talk about?
No, you have the list.
I just wrote some stupid shit in here.
Yeah.
Okay. How about Garrett's comeback? What do you think of it?
Oh yeah.
What have you thought of it? What do you?
Did you get invited to that game?
I did. Yeah, I did. I chose to not play it. I think
the big bet or the WPT.
The Bally's.
Bally's. Okay.
Yeah. I just it's a really sensitive topic, with Garrett. Like I think it's so hard for me to like be like public and vocal about this, but I'm gonna try. But what I will say is this: there is so much unresolved conflict with this thing, right? The reason why everybody's still talking about it. You guys do like 5-hour Twitter spaces, talk about this. Like it's because like there's no resolution to this, right? Like nobody has closure. Like it's just like there has been nothing. It's just one big mystery still, and it's still right down the middle, like with most of the community, right? Like, and we can go on forever about that. I think like the topic of whether she cheated or not has been talked to death, and whether his ethics was brought into question has been talked to death. As far as his comeback, I think it's very clear that like he's still a big draw to these games. He's good for poker. Yes. People love watching him. I miss battling with him. I miss his presence on the table. I miss just having him on the table. That's definitely for sure. But as far as like,
it was a lot of fun times with us.
Yeah, it was.
We had a lot of good times. Just not even about the poker, just the laughing and all.
I miss seeing the two of you at the table.
I miss it too.
I actually rewatched some of the streams, like just like pull them on, and like back in the days we used to play all three of us used to play together and saw that, and it was very nostalgic looking at that, But I'm sad that like, again, back with the politics, it's sad that like I have to even consider like, oh, should I play at Bally's? Like I hate this. I hate that there's this division like with Hustler and Bally's, and like like, oh, if I play this, what is it gonna mean? Like people are gonna think I'm anti like Bally's if I don't play, or I just want to play poker. I just want to play in a good game. I just want to play a game that I love, and it's
so why didn't you play?
I don't want to make any strong statements with what's happened with Garrett, and I think me coming back on any stream is like it's too extreme, like I'm gonna get hate either whatever I do.
Yeah. So speaking of strong statements, what did you think about him still kind of leaning into this Jack 4 stuff? Like he bought in to the same amount that she gave back to him, and then he bluffed with Jack 4. Yeah. And he's still kind of rubbing it in a bit. Like I understand his perspective. He does feel he was cheated. I think it's funny. Like I think I understand where he's coming from, and like I think it's fair game. Like they're doing it to each other. They've been trolling each other for this. They have, whole year, And until something concrete comes out, like it's fair game. I think it's fun, and it's like it's fine. Even like with Wesley, like nonstop, like he's just putting Sia and Mars on blast. Like my entire timeline is just like, and then he wants me to blast it for him. You know what I mean? Like like it's just like I understand it, because like, hey, if they cheated me out of $1 million, like you wouldn't hear the last of it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I'd be doing the same thing. Right. And so like we're not in their position. We're not Garrett. We're not Wesley and these guys. And so like I understand it. I think it's fine. So that's all I can say about that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Totally fair. Mm-hmm. What else, Val?
Oh yeah. Oh, you didn't have a comment about that?
No, I'm afraid to say anything.
No, I think you should say something.
I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious. Let me ask you guys a question, Nick. Like we're with Bally's, opening and Commerce going to be opening. Sure. Where do you guys see Hustler in terms of, now we lost a bunch of high stakes players, players are numb. They want to see bigger pots, bigger games. Like how do you think the direction with sustainability and, with competition? And
well, we just had Eric Person on, and we talked about that. And the takeaway is he mentioned that Commerce Bally's has a totally different direction where they're going. They're not looking to compete 5 days a week. They're looking to just build some content to go to the app. They want to play bigger games, like maybe a few a month here, a few a month there, and bring the content to TV over at Bally's. And so I don't think we're going to be scratching and kicking each other or any of that. Most of the beef came from Live at the Bike staff versus, Big Bet. Like, I got to know Soo Kim, which I've mentioned. I think he's a very nice man. He's a billionaire. He owns Bally's. He's doing a great job. I think Eric, he's affiliated with them with his contract to build floors and to run games. Him and I are friends. And, he recruited Garrett. It's fine. Yeah. It is what it is. The only beefs that I ever have, and again, to your point, to say something, is that the only beef I ever really have in poker is people reporting things that are untrue or calling people cheaters that they don't know. I fucking hate that. Yeah. And with Garrett doing it and still leaning in that he knows 100% and, everybody's being affected by it and still, pinning it to the show and other things. So that's the only thing I care about. I don't care about commerce opening. I really don't. Yeah. HCL is going to be what we are no matter what. If we stay on top, we do. It motivates me when competition fires up. I actually motivated both me and Ryan to go, oh shit, we're just kind of cruising here. Even though we're doing like some fun, amazing things, now we're actually, it's good for us. It's good for poker. That's not just a tagline. I think more poker is good for poker. So I don't really care. That's the truth. I really don't care. And whatever happens, I'm curious to see how it looks, how it goes. I don't know. Yeah, whatever.
I'm really curious to see what's going to happen and the landscape of poker changing. I think every year, every month, it's constantly changing in flux, and nothing's constant. There's like good games, there's big games, and then there's a lull, and then it comes back, and it's fascinating to see this changing.
Yeah, and I think with more poker streams popping up, and then we have a lot of online players starting to come to cash because you probably will get cheated online. There is just no regulation, and like we talked about, not only no regulation, but like I won't name the companies because of the current company I have, but like they just let them back in. They they get caught cheated. It's like and then they can play again, or they can show up again. And so I don't think that's okay. I think if you really are caught cheating in poker, you should be like pushed out, or you should make it very difficult for you to play or have a platform. I do believe that. I just don't believe that a person without 100% proof should ever have that tagged on them.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think it's weird that to address what you're saying, there's people in the community that people are sure that they cheated and they should not be able to participate in tournaments and things like that, but it's such a still gray area, right? It's like there's no committee, there's no council that says this is what should be done, how should we handle it. And
we just talked about
I was talking about that, because there's I was the whistleblower with the Mike Postle stuff. There's no justice. The only people that actually ended up good out of the whole thing are the lawyers. The lawyers made a tremendous amount of money from all the lawsuits. And Mike Postle's still playing, potentially still cheating, probably figuring out some way to cheat online or whatever. And there's no justice. And in poker, we see cheaters just are free. And typically you say, oh, there's no evidence. But what typically happens when there is no evidence in a crime is you take it to a jury of your peers, you present what you do have, and then the jury says guilty or not guilty. And we do that within the poker community. And a lot of people, that's how Mike Postle is deemed guilty. The majority of people in poker agree that he was cheating. It can happen the same with other cheating. You don't have to catch people red-handed. You just have to have enough evidence to show.
Okay. And I think there's a fair point to that. I think if there's enough sample size and it's very obvious.
You definitely need a good sample size. With Robbie, there's not enough sample size.
I was going to say that. I was going to say there's not
enough.
As
a person who works with data, I will tell you there was not enough sample size.
There wasn't.
Small. It was too small.
And there wasn't.
It looked fishy, though. It didn't look right.
Well, that's why we're here. It's because it looked fishy. Yeah. It looked fishier than any fish we know. So, but the fact is the community is down the line. And even if you took 12 peers of the highest, whatever, esteemed poker people in the community, and you put them on a committee, I wouldn't feel comfortable with them making the decision about Garrett or Robbie. I think that would be fucking
I'm not talking
horseshit.
About just Garrett and Robbie. I would. But I would feel... I'm talking about in general.
Well, I'm talking about in general, too. But when you don't have a sample size and you have no proof, I would not be comfortable putting that in, I hope he doesn't get mad at me, but like Sean Deeb's hands. Right. I wouldn't want, because he's really deep into poker and he's into these things, or a Matt Berkey who's 20 years into the business and having him just give his opinion, or me. Yeah. What the fuck?
It's
it ain't my place to say something without the sample size. Just because it's just like with jurors in court. We have one of the greatest systems, but it's fucking flawed. A lot of people go to jail that are guilty. A lot of people don't go to jail that are innocent. A lot of people don't go to jail that are guilty. It's unfortunate, and I don't want to be part of ruining someone's life, and that's not to be sloppy. It's not to cover for somebody. It's not because I don't care. It's just because fuck, what if he's innocent? This person or her their fucking life's ruined in poker. You know how poker is. I mean, even though they come back and play.
Well, then we don't send anything to any jury.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not I can't use the word
because you're
dogmatic.
never ever going to be 100% sure.
I know that, but
so
I'm
then,
saying.
So then, what are you saying?
Well, I'm saying just what I said. This is where we get our shit going. I said just what I said, that your point is taken, and there should be some sort of something. But I don't know what that something can be, because
you only want that something to be sure that you get the verdict that you want.
But that something could be so fucking flawed that it's not a good something. And at the same time, without a something, that's not a good solution. Right. I don't know. We're kind of both based on how we feel about this. But I don't know. I don't know.
I have a question for you, because this is about you.
Okay.
How do you feel about what we just said? Arbitrate. Whose side do you agree with, besides saying, well, I see both your points?
Why do you have to ask him to agree? We both made points.
Because I want to. Because I fucking want to.
Yeah, just tell him.
I think the difficulty lies in what you were saying. Like, it's impossible to like appoint certain players to be like the judge of all this. Like, it's all it's very like opinionated on these things, right? And so that's the hardest point. Like, we don't have a council, because like who decides, right? Like, and that's the problem.
So I often think that perfection is the hindrance of progress, right? So if we're looking for a perfect jury, we're looking for a perfect this, but we'll never find it. We'll never move anything forward. We have to start somewhere. We have to start building some sort of governance group or a jurisdiction or something. Like, we need to have rules that we can establish, because right now, if you cheat as a poker player, there is no repercussion for you. Yeah. And that's the way it is. And I'm not even talking about Jack 4. You have a very personal experience with Jack 4, but I'm saying in general, if there is cheating, there should be a jury of our peers where we can exclude people, because we know that the DOJ isn't going to do anything, but we should be able to exclude people from poker if they are cheaters. But then we would need the entire community to implement what we recommend, and that's not going to happen because money talks.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to let all these players play because they're going to show up with their buy-in, and it's more money for them. Why would they say no to it?
Yeah, and let me expound on it just a tad, Vicky. I am going to expand on it just.
He takes it so personal.
No, I'm not. It's not personal. I'm not taking it personal. I'm having a conversation that it's not an easy one, and I'm enjoying it.
Okay.
So, for example, like I just said, if somebody, you put a fucking blue light over the deck and it's like you can fucking see what card it is, you're fucking guilty. That's why, that's why Mars is not going to be allowed back on our show, because there's too much circumstantial evidence to say that we can't say. It's overwhelming.
He also admitted it. So.
And he admitted it. But
I guess that might be
before
something.
He admitted it, which is great. Thank God he did, because then it makes it for sure. But even before that, you're not coming back on the show because there's too much here. Yeah. Okay? I wasn't involved in the Mike Postle thing. I'll take your word for it. Okay? So I'm not just talking about Jack 4. It's like, there has to be something like that. It can't be like a Jack 4, and it can't be something else, because with our other system, our legal system, you still have where were you at the time. You have DNA. You have, certain things that you could put together that even though the person doesn't say, I did it, you have so much circumstantial evidence that you're fucking guilty. And sometimes that doesn't work out perfect. Mm-hmm. So all I'm suggesting is that I just think there are too many things that I think that would grow into something that would not be positive if we didn't have a perfect system for it, because then everything would be brought to the council, and some poor fuck we don't have enough evidence would just be deemed whatever, because I've had enough time on the felt where you can't call it Jack 4, you can't fucking do this. Like, what? Like, no, you don't know that. So that's all my point is. I actually agree with you. I even the other day with Tuck said, yeah, like there's got to be consequences. There should be like a thing. But I'm not going to lean into it like you, because I don't see it the exact same way. You feel further about it than I do. I
think like if there's cheating, I think there are people, it seems like you would lean towards not going to that game anymore. Obviously, because there's a dynamic involved in cheating, and I would be the one who would want to be vocal about it so no one has to lose any more money in that area. A lot of people are just like, okay, I'm just not going to go there anymore. A lot of people were like, why did you call up Mike Postle? Just don't go to Stones anymore. But to me, I'm like, I don't want anyone else to get cheated.
Right. So, sorry about this. This is now going back.
I have a question for Andy.
Well, no, but
Andy's show.
No, but I want to respond to that. So, yes, that makes sense. But at the same time, you still don't know. You just have a hunch. So even though you might be protecting a ton of people.
This is a circular topic at this point.
I'm going to finish my point because you just did a circular fucking topic. So I'm going to do it.
I don't think you would. I don't even. How was I circular?
Because you just said the same thing you've said. Just like I am. And I'm going to finish mine, then you can ask Andy a question. Sorry,
Andy.
Yeah, no, I'm not. So, because I'm a dick, right? That's what you said. So anyways, if I can remember my thought, this is probably like some type of strategy because she knows if I can't fucking get it out right, I can't remember. What was it that she said? Oh God, you got me. You win.
So I won.
Win.
I win.
Yeah, you fucking
so
win.
Andy, now with commerce opening up, and like you alluded to the frustration of the politics in poker. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming if there's a good game, you would want to go play. Like, what if? I just want to know, like, from your perspective, and I know we've got the owner of Hustler Casino Live sitting right here.
Andy and I talked about this.
But I don't care that you and Andy talked about it. The audience wants to know what Andy thinks about it.
Yeah,
okay,
so that's why. Since we talked about it,
I know that you want to tell people that you've talked about it.
No, he'll be happy to tell you the truth.
I want to know, like, what goes through your mind with trying to balance like the politics of being invited still to Hustler but wanting to play at Commerce and wondering why you can't do both.
No, you can't do both. I think it just comes down to having a conversation with both owners of both streams and just being honest, just being straightforward. Be like, hey, there's a good game here, and I'm gonna have to go where I'm gonna go, and like it's understood that like the streams are going to do what's best for their interest and the players are going to do what's best for their interest. And a lot of times the interests align. And that's that's the beautiful thing. That's why I've been, playing with, working with Ryan for so long. And, that's why, I think there's a little bit of like, you just a give and take, right? Like with Ryan, like, I think, I've benefited a lot of being on these streams and, I've also helped Ryan build these businesses for many years. I would say I'm probably the longest, have the longest working relationship with Ryan out of his entire player pool. I was pre Ryan even moving to California. I've been alive, but I'm the last player that's still here, right? And that has supported his streams over the years in shitty games and just to make sure they go, even with like a 24-hour stream, like make sure we finish that off. And so like there's a little bit of like history with me and Ryan and things like that. And there's a lot of understanding. So it's there's a lot of give and take. He understands where I'm coming from. And as long as we have a open communication and conversation about all this, I think it's fine, and we're able to still work together very 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 well. So
are you saying that you're going to go play at Commerce?
Oh yeah, there's a good game there. Yeah, for sure. Like I just think like it's fine because it's like, I mean,
permission to speak.
like anybody can play anywhere, right? Like nobody. It's like all the players.
No, I understand,
but
you know what I mean.
Yeah, like there's no like. None of these streams are like, contrary to what people think, like none of the streams are paying any of the players, right? Like Nick Airball doesn't get 100K. Like I don't get like everybody's on their own, you know what I mean? And so like they're going to go where the games are good. And so this goes back to what I was saying about with Santhosh leaving, like Nick leaving, like, okay, if there's a better game, leave, like go. Like you don't owe it. Yeah, it'd be nice.
No. We do owe it.
Okay.
That was a one-off.
Yeah.
And if that happened a lot in our games, those players would probably not be allowed to play.
Yeah.
Because there is an obligation to the show and to you as a player that played on the show. So that's why I say you had every right to feel that way, but it's never happened before and it was a one-off, right?
Well, it's happened to me twice on the show. And that's why I was pissed.
Okay, so twice.
Yeah. The one time another player that came on that somebody brought, and then he like won a big pot and decided to just leave, and then
Was that Pepe?
Died. No.
Who was it? Say it.
I don't even know the guy's name, to be honest. I can't remember the guy's name.
Okay, because I don't care. You can say anything.
It was his first time on the show, and then he decided to leave halfway, and then he was like, I have no obligation to stay. And
did that person ever play again?
No. And but I kind of understood where he was coming from too. He does have no obligation to stay. Yeah. Like it's he's probably not going to get invited back.
Then
he won't be invited back.
There's repercussions.
That's just like I'm going to lock it up and leave. Like you can't play.
Yeah.
It's a very short-term mentality, though.
Yeah.
You want to lock up a short-term gain for long-term losses.
Mm-hmm.
Well. Yeah, and basically, I think what the layman's translation to what you're saying is like, look, it's your business.
Yeah.
You're going to do what you have to do in games and put yourself in the best EV, right? Plus EV. And there is a smidge of loyalty because of the past, which you add into a little bit of the formula, but it doesn't take away the fact that you're free agent to do what you want. And then it's the show's obligation to give you that best game so you don't go there.
Yeah, exactly. I think you nailed it. You nailed it.
Yeah.
That's the reason why when Hustler had all the big games, me and Garrett chose to just play weekly on Fridays at
of course.
the Hustler. It was just there was more action, there's more splashing, there's just more money there, and it was just a better game.
Yeah.
And
we do have some players that, I won't name them, but we do have some players that won't go somewhere else because they choose to have that loyalty to the show, right? And we give them that loyalty back like tenfold because, of course, any show owner would want that. But just because that doesn't happen with all the players doesn't mean those players aren't as valuable to us, aren't as respected. And like someone like yourself, you're an asset. People love to watch you play. You're is just as important to us as we are maybe to you to have those type of games.
For sure.
So there's just a different mixture of this stuff, and there's no perfect widget,
Yeah, I think that's very well said.
Yeah.
So Andy, do you have any recommendations for Nick and I to get along better?
Oh, man, I think
we're doing great. I fucking think I finally feel like we're talking.
This is breakup number 3 or 4.
This is our.
If we do it again, it'll be 4.
Yeah, this was 3.
Yeah.
We've
broken up 3 times.
No, I think it's really good that we have these discussions, even like back with the cheating thing. Like I think this is something that like there needs to be some kind of progress, and with you guys having discussion with everybody watching, leave your comments down below on what you think is a good resolution to this type of thing.
Yeah,
because we can't let people just get away with this shit. Like I just see it time and time again, right? People just like they do something really shady, and then like someone rants about it. They take a picture of the guy. Hey, he's just sitting on this table. Like, how is this guy like?
That's
give
right.
him a chance to like take all
give
our
your
buy-ins,
input,
and it's just
put your input.
Yeah.
Sorry. Along those lines.
Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it, so the World Series of Poker had the RTA app, GTO Wizard as their sponsor, and but you couldn't. It's like a weird thing to be sponsored by the thing you're not allowed to use while you're playing.
Yeah.
What do you think about? Because there was a guy that was looking at his hands running sims after he folded, but at the table. What do you think about that?
I think I don't think that should be allowed.
I don't either.
I don't think that should be allowed. I don't think any type of software, like any of those stuff, should be allowed. Like just like they're not allowed on GG, like immediately banned. If you're caught using that, I think it should be the same. Just hold true for live events. You know what I mean? Like no, you don't. It hurts like just everybody. Like you don't want to be. Nobody wants to be in a game where some guy's literally like running software on their phone, like while you're in the event. You know what I mean? Like it's the same thing as when I'm on live stream. Like I don't want players standing outside waiting for the hand to air so they can see what I had. You know what I mean? Like it's just none of that stuff should be allowed. Like it's just like wait till the event's over. Like do your homework, whatever you want to run that stuff. It's on you. But
I agree.
During the event or during the live stream, like just play and just like put that stuff away.
Is it an ironic sponsorship or no?
It's a little bit. I can see the irony in it. I can see irony in it.
It's kind of funny to me.
Yeah. It goes back to the money, like we were talking about. It's like the reason why there's no resolutions is because there's money to be made. It's a business, and so it's unfortunate.
Yeah, true story. I don't have anything else. Although I'm having a hell of a time.
I think we covered a lot. Covered a lot. There's a lot of like, I think Veronica, you're right that I came in today with a different mentality than the first time. I like
it. I like seeing the like
this was a lot
sober,
better.
open, like very like there's no wall up.
Well,
like,
the reason why
I like
is because
this, Andy.
when we filmed a year ago, I was fresh off coming back from Asia.
Yeah,
I was in peace. I was and I was at peace. I was away from all
this. Back to LA where it ruins you.
I wanted to come back just with no drama. Now you're fucking disgruntled as fuck again.
Now I'm just
thanks, LA.
Straight in the middle of all this in the war zone. It was a straight war zone, man. But it's all love, man. Like I'm happy to be in it again. But again, like I'm reevaluating right now. How much time I want to be doing all this. I think time will tell. I think I'm going to see the developments of what happens next year with Commerce opening. I'm very curious to see how Hustler's going to handle now we lost so many players, if these games are going to be sustainable.
Yeah.
If we're going to have the action
lost
there.
Therefore, really, high, there's not a big pool for them.
No, there's not a big pool, and players are selective as hell right now. Like even like with these games, like I'm being pulled in politics. Like I have players texting me like, "Hey, can I get in this game?" I don't want to be in this position where I'm like pulling the strings. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I think there's just been more and more of it. Like even with the streams, like there's players coming on the streams like looking to recruit now, and then like to shut other players out. And like all this stuff is just so grimy. I hate it. You know what I mean? Like everybody that plays on stream, like, you know, they have their own agenda. It's fine, you know. But I think there's a line that needs to be that cannot be crossed. Like there's still ethics, right? Like, but even if like we talk about them, and you know, just like with the cheating stuff, like people are not gonna care. They're still gonna do it. You know, they're still going to come on. They're still going to go behind your back.
Yeah,
they're still going to do all the grimy shit, coaching.
All of a sudden, everyone's going to be too
it's not
weary.
realistic.
No, it's going to be going full blown.
It's not realistic.
For sure. And, you know, unfortunately, because it is grimy like that and because everyone does it and because it's the nature of the business and everyone's recruiting, I walked in the Commerce to eat a pork chop and they walked me out. Because,
He's 86.
Like, I saw it.
You know, just because, like, I own a show and, like, I'll probably take someone out of there. But that's just the gross nature of the game, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
I'll go to Commerce and play some 510 and order a pork chop and mashed potatoes for you.
I'll give you a review. Go in and bring me a pork chop.
I will.
Fuck? I don't want to sit there and watch
I'll bring you one to go. 6 hours
After
before I leave.
I was going to say, you order it, 6 hours, play, and then bring it to me.
Yeah.
I bet you missed that orange chicken at the bike, though, huh? Or the Galbi. You missed that there?
Oh, I do. That chicken bowl that I used to order.
You gotta go order it all the time, you told me?
Dude, I'm such a creature of habit. Yeah, I would get the same thing. I miss eating at the table, even though it's bad for production.
Yeah.
I miss all the fucking laughs we had. Like it just was like, I tell you, when I look at that too and I see some old stuff, I feel that nostalgic, like that was a big part of my life, you know?
Really
and that's like why I said, you know, like business wise, that's how I feel about the Garrett situation. Personally, it saddens me, you know, because you know, you got one life. It's so short. Like this is all nonsense, but it's unfortunate. You know, business is business, right? And so everyone has to take their stand. Well, I think that's
this was a really good interview, Andy. It was a pleasure talking to you, the more LA beaten down, sick of life guy. You know.
I think we covered a lot of great topics. I hope people watching has gained more insight on my views on these topics. You know, again, like. I think, again, it just comes back to like the business and the politics of all of this. You know, I said what I think I want to express on all these topics, and if you guys have any things that you guys want to add, or you know, your opinions on this, please leave comments below because we're very curious as well. I think you know, all very, very fascinating topics that are happening right now in poker, and you know, very controversial and very
after you guys
so.
Call me a dick, leave something constructive. Like we want feedback, right?
We want feedback.
Yeah. So okay, well, for myself, Nick Vertucci, and for my littlest fan here, Valerino, and Andy Stacks, who this was a great talk we had. This is the Nick Vertucci Show. NV out.